Do you know that feeling when you're somehow even more hungry after eating breakfast, and then your stomach is growling SOS while you stare up at the clock and realize that you have 5 hours and 47 minutes until lunchtime when you're gonna eat 5 measly rice cakes? The truth is, most diets suck, and that's why we created this meal plan. It's under 1,600 calories a day, packed with flavor and protein, and built on our 3 layers of nutritional defense. The science-based system that we created to help you thrive on a plant-based diet. This is not just another low-calorie meal plan. Every meal is rich in whole plant foods, balanced for fat loss, and made to help you feel energized and satisfied all day long. And you can always add some extra snacks or bump up the portion size to meet your particular calorie needs. If you want to know exactly how many calories and grams of protein you should be eating every day for optimal fat loss, then you can use our free vegan nutrition calculator by clicking the link in the description. All right, let's dive in and I'll show you how to make this. All right, for breakfast, we've got some berry overnight oats. We've got some delicious fresh blueberries and raspberries. They look super good, so I'm gonna need to stop myself from snacking on those while we're making this meal prep. Oh, and also we've got my mom on set today. She's gonna be helping out in the background and she doesn't wanna be on camera, so be sure to leave her a nice comment and let her know how awesome she is. She really doesn't like being on camera, but
I'm in charge.
But she's in charge, so. Okay, so a half cup of oats each. The thing I love about overnight oats is it's so simple. And it's also great to just grab and go. Up next, we have 2 tablespoons of peanut butter powder. So you're welcome to use protein powder instead if you would like that, but I really love the taste of peanut butter. Now we're gonna add 1 tablespoon of chia seeds. Up next, we've got 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Fun fact, I'm actually mildly allergic to cinnamon, but I still eat it. Don't do that. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and shake up the dry ingredients. All right, so we've got our 4 meal prep containers. I'm going to be making 1 for tomorrow morning, and then I'm going to be putting the other ones with the dry ingredients in the pantry, and I will be making them the night before I eat them. So up next, we're gonna add 1 cup of soy milk. I'm using the unsweetened version to save some calories, but you're welcome to use a sweetened version if you prefer. So now that we have our soy milk in here, I'm going to mix it up a little bit. So I'm using fresh berries. You can, of course, use frozen berries as well. I just really love using fresh berries. So especially if they're in season, I will opt for fresh berries. I'm going to be putting this into a bowl to have my oatmeal. Of course, you could just grab and go in a bit of a larger container for work. Now we're going to add a half cup of blueberries and a half cup of raspberries. And the last thing to add is 1 Brazil nut for our daily dose of selenium. Now, I would typically just eat one of these, but you can also chop up a Brazil nut and just put that over the top. And that's it. All right, my stomach was just growling. I'm ready for some food. Let's try it. Is there really anything that beats fresh berries? And it's packed with a ton of micronutrients and protein. This is a great way to get your day started. Now let's make some lunch.
Well, I'm here, so you can't drop the F-bomb or anything. You know that. That's in my contract.
Oh, come on, live a little. Oh.
These are cute.
Hey, real quick, just wanted to let you know that you can download all of these recipes plus a full grocery list by clicking the link in the description. All right, let's get back to it. So for lunch, we've got a tofu veggie power bowl, which is really delicious. It's also packed with micronutrients. We also have a delicious, tangy orange miso dressing on the top. Let's dive in and I'll show you how to make this. We're gonna get started by putting our quinoa on the stove so it can cook while we make our dressing. We're gonna use a 2-to-1 ratio, 1 1/3 cup of water, and 2/3 cup of quinoa. So typically quinoa takes about 15 minutes to cook, and in the last 5 minutes while it's cooking, we're gonna be adding 2 cups of our rice cauliflower, 1 tablespoon of our soy sauce, and then 1 teaspoon of our ginger powder. So the reason that we're adding the rice cauliflower is to add some extra volume, which can really help to keep you full. Up next, we're making our tangy orange miso dressing, which is super delicious. And we're gonna start with our miso paste. We'll be getting a half cup of miso paste, which is quite a bit. So I'd recommend going with low sodium miso and also some low sodium soy sauce. Now we'll add 3 tablespoons of rice vinegar, 3 tablespoons of maple syrup, and 1 tablespoon of soy sauce. Then we'll add 1 teaspoon each of garlic powder and ginger powder. Then we're gonna add 6 tablespoons of water to get just the right consistency. Now we're gonna blend it up. I'm gonna be using an immersion blender. You can use a Vitamix or whatever you want. All right, now for the best part, we're gonna be adding our orange. Be sure you do one at a time to stay safe. That's what my mom said. So we do have some orange fiber that gets stuck into the sides of the immersion blender. You can just leave that out. So I'm gonna throw this in the trash. But that's the finished product, and that is so good. I just want to pour that on everything. Might have to put some on our overnight oats. I'm going to be pouring in some sauce into a container for the next 4 days. We're going to be using 1/3 of a cup of this dressing on top of our power bowls every single day. So since we've got 4 days, that means that we're going to be storing 1 1/3 cup of the dressing. So we're going to be saving the rest of this dressing for our tofu. All right, so for this recipe, we're only using 1 block of tofu. Now, this is a lower calorie meal plan, but I would normally have a block of tofu a day, honestly. So you can up it if you need some more. Now I'll add it to a bowl. Make sure it's broken up a little bit so it can get sauce all around it. Then we'll add 2 tablespoons of cornstarch and 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast. Now add 1 tablespoon each of garlic powder, oregano, onion, and cumin. Now we're just gonna mix it up. And the last thing that we're gonna do before we throw in the air fryer is we're gonna add the remaining sauce. You should have more than 1/3 of a cup, maybe around 1/2 a cup, maybe 2/3 of a cup, again, depending on the size of your orange. So we'll pop the top on and shake it up. We've got our beautiful tofu here. This is gonna be super delicious and crispy when we put in the air fryer. If you do not have an air fryer, don't worry. You can use an oven. We're gonna put it in here for 15 to 20 minutes at 400 degrees Fahrenheit, or you can put it in for 30 minutes at 450 degrees Fahrenheit in an oven. 450, 15 minutes, launch. While that's going, we're gonna prep our veggies. All right, we're gonna make some cucumber matchsticks, and that means...
Can I show you how to do that?
But why doesn't this work? Doesn't it matter?
Oh, well, you're better at than I am, apparently.
Oh.
Aren't you something?
All right, quick note. We want to de-seed our cucumber. So you can do with a spoon like that, or you can just cut it out as a wedge. Next up, we're slicing our 4 radishes. Make sure to make really thin slices. So the last veggie we're gonna prep is some spinach. We are going to chop 4 cups of spinach. When your goal is fat loss, I recommend that you get as much volume in your meals as possible. That's why it's great to add things like dark leafy greens, some cucumbers, radishes, carrots. Add as much volume as you can with low calorie veggies. And it's gonna make it a lot easier to lose body fat without feeling hungry all the time, which is something that I have really struggled with previously during all of my fat loss periods. I'm always hangry, Mom. So every single day we're gonna have 1/2 a cup of shredded carrots in our power bowl, which means we need 2 cups total for this 4-day meal prep. Let's check the tofu. Ooh, that looks so good. Oh man, I am so hungry. Just wanna eat it all. And for the last ingredient, we've got some shelled edamame. I'm gonna weigh out 2 cups. We took this straight from the freezer, as you can hear. We're gonna put it into this container, pop a lid on top, and it is going to just thaw in the refrigerator. We now have all of our ingredients totally ready for our lunch. Every single day when you're ready to eat your lunch, you're just gonna take a quarter of each one of these ingredients. And again, you can just eyeball that. You're also gonna have 2 tablespoons of kimchi. You can use whatever kimchi you want. This is a brand that I really love. And then you're also gonna have a quarter of the dressing that you're gonna pour on top. That's about 1/3 of a cup or 85 grams. This is so good. This is seriously like the perfect bowl in my opinion. You got tons of veggies, super healthy, lots of protein from the quinoa, edamame, and the tofu. So I ate this bowl for dinner last week when we were doing some of the recipe testing for this video, and I could not finish the bowl. That's how filling this is. Under 600 calories, about 40 grams of protein. So our lunch checks off a ton of boxes from our 3 layers of nutritional defense checklist. But another one that we need to check off is kombu for our daily dose of iodine. You just need about 1 US quarter size piece of kombu to check that box. And we also need an additional piece of fruit in this meal prep. So we've got an apple that you can have along with lunch or as a snack throughout the day. All right, that's it for lunch. Now let's make some dinner. So for dinner, you are in for a treat. I know how it feels to be focusing on weight loss and eating a ton of the same bland foods over and over again, but we're gonna break that cycle with this delicious Romesco Seitan Polenta bowl. So let's get started by making our homemade Seitan. So first we'll put together all of our dry ingredients in this bowl, beginning with vital wheat gluten, which is packed with protein and serves as the base of our Seitan. Then we'll add 3 tablespoons of chickpea flour, 3 tablespoons of nutritional yeast, 1 teaspoon each of garlic and onion powder, 1 teaspoon of poultry seasoning, which is in fact vegan. Actually, all the things that meat eaters add to their meat is vegan. They add plants to their meat to make it actually taste good. So maybe you really do like vegan food. And then half a teaspoon each of thyme and salt. And now for the wet ingredients as part of the Seitan, we're gonna be using 3/4 cup of our veggie broth, and then 3 tablespoons of vegan Worcestershire sauce. Please note that most Worcestershire sauce, please note that most of this sauce is not actually vegan. Has what, fish oil?
Anchovies.
It has anchovies in it, disgusting. This is vegan. We're now going to mix up our dry ingredients. Next, be sure to wash your hands because we're gonna be pouring it in slowly and mixing it up with our hands. So I guess you could use a spoon if you prefer, but this works better generally. So back to playing with Play-Doh as a kid. I present to you a Seitan loaf.
That's perfect. I'll get out of the way and you can
Got a gold star from my mom.
tell everybody, and then you roll it and then put the ends in and then keep rolling it.
So I put it here and then roll it over.
Here, right where I told you.
Yeah.
Then you roll this, let go of it. Oh, well, or not.
I'm not,
You roll this
I'm not
down,
ready to do this.
and then you roll the corners in and you keep rolling.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mom. We're gonna put it down. I've got it on parchment paper, and then I also have it on some aluminum foil. This is going to help it to bake better, but I don't want the Seitan to stick to the aluminum foil, which is why I'm using some parchment paper. You can of course use a little bit of oil, but I'm trying to make sure that we don't add any calories, which is why I'm using this solution instead. So, I'm gonna roll it over like so. We're gonna roll fold the corners over, just like you're wrapping a little present. There we go. There. Perfect. All right, so we've got our Seitan loaf. I just started preheating the oven, which is also the air fryer. So if you have a multifunction air fryer like I do, that works, or you throw in the oven. All right, we will be baking some chickpeas along with our Seitan. So I'm going to open up 1 can of chickpeas. So chickpea juice, which is also known as aquafaba, has tons of different uses, especially in baking as an egg replacement. So if you want to set this aside, you are welcome to do so. Or if you don't care about that, then you can just toss it down the drain. So you could just bake the chickpeas on their own plain, but I would recommend adding a little bit of all-purpose seasoning. And I would also recommend having it be no sodium or very low sodium. So I'm gonna be going with some Benson's Table Tasty. You can use some other no salt seasoning of your choice, but you're just gonna go ahead and add a little bit on top. So I've got my little tray for the air fryer / oven. I'm gonna put the Seitan in the middle, and then I'm making a thin layer of chickpeas on either side. So our baking sheet is ready to go. Just pop it into the oven, set a timer for 20 minutes so you can check on the chickpeas every once in a while. And we're gonna jump in and start making our polenta. So up next, we're gonna be making some polenta, and it is super easy. We're gonna be taking 1 cup of veggie broth and 1 cup of water, putting them both into a pan, putting that onto the stove, boiling it, and then we're gonna be adding 1/2 tube of polenta, which is about 250 grams. I'd recommend that you slice up your polenta before you put it into the pan, and also just let it sit in the pan to soften for a while before you start mashing it. Please just be really careful when you're mashing it. You don't have to go crazy aggressive on it because we are dealing with hot stuff on the stove, and I wanna be sure that you're safe. And of course, if you don't have a potato masher, then you're welcome to use a fork. It is now time to make our delicious homemade Romesco sauce. We're gonna begin with a 1/4 cup of veggie broth. Then we're gonna add this entire jar of roasted red bell peppers. This is 12 ounces, so be sure that yours is the same. We're gonna be adding all of the liquid. Now this brand has no oil. Be sure that yours is also oil-free to keep the calories lower. Then we'll add 1 tablespoon of red wine vinegar, 1 teaspoon of maple syrup. Then we're gonna add a 1/4 cup of tomato paste. Then we're gonna add 1 tablespoon of minced garlic. Then we're gonna add a 1/4 cup of fresh chopped chives, 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. I really like fresh ground pepper and salt, but you can use pre-ground if you prefer. And lastly, we're gonna add a 1/3 cup of roasted almonds. Now it's time to blend it all up. So we've got our homemade Romesco sauce, and man, I'm excited to try this. Nothing is gonna beat that homemade taste. This is absolutely delicious. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it into a container for the fridge. And also, one challenge in a lot of store-bought dressings is that they contain oil. This one does not. So it's all the delicious taste with relatively few calories. Of course, we do have things like the almonds in here, but compared to oil, way healthier and lower in calories. By now, your polenta should be done, so just turn off the stove and let it cool and thicken. So I'm gonna pop this in the fridge, and then let's check on our seitan. All right, time to unwrap our seitan present. Ooh. That looks nice. All right, let's cut this open. So you'll know it's done when the outside is kind of firm and it looks like a golden, fresh baked loaf of bread. So the seitan turned out perfectly, but I've actually not used the air fryer in the oven setting for such a long bake time. And it was a little slower than 45 minutes. It actually ended up taking an hour. So just check it at the 45-minute mark, see how it looks. And if you're tight on time, then store-bought seitan is a really great option. Seitan's done, let's check on the polenta. All right, our polenta turned out well. That's it for our cooked ingredients. Let's chop up the last ingredient, which is our kale. So first we're gonna destem a bunch of kale. We wanna yield about 4 cups, and then we're going to rinse it. All right, to keep it as fresh as possible, I'm now gonna spin it to get out excess water. Now personally, I like to really finely chop my kale. I find that it makes it a little bit more tender. All right, we nailed the amount of kale. That's exactly 4 cups. So I'm gonna go ahead and store this in a container in the fridge. All right, the kale's pretty dry. We don't need to put a paper towel in there, but I kinda like to, just to keep it that extra bit fresh. So that's it for our prep dinner ingredients. We're keeping these separate as well to maintain freshness. And here's how you make your dinner every day. Grab a 1/4 of the kale, seitan, polenta, Romesco sauce, and then top with chickpeas. All right, the Romesco sauce is amazing, and I really love the chickpeas on this. Overall, really delicious salad that's packed with nutrition and also high in protein. I would recommend heating up all of the ingredients and then putting it over a bed of kale, but honestly, it's also really great as a cold salad. So that's it for dinner. Now let's dive into a nutrition breakdown. So here are 3 layers of nutritional defense. I just pulled this off of my fridge. It's actually a giant magnet. And the 3 layers of nutritional defense is a daily nutrition checklist to ensure that you're getting all of the nutrients that your body needs to thrive. We want to both maximize our health span, which is the number of healthy years that we'll live, and 2, we want to ensure that we're avoiding any potential nutrient deficiencies. So let's dive in and learn how this meal plan checks all of these boxes. So the first layer of nutritional defense is a diet rich in whole plant foods. This is the foundation of a healthy diet. And the first box, we've got 2 servings of dark leafy greens. We check this with some spinach in lunch and kale in dinner. For our cruciferous veggies, we got 1 serving from the rice cauliflower in our lunch. And for whole grains, we needed 3 servings. We had oats in breakfast, quinoa in lunch, and polenta in dinner. We also need 3 servings of legumes per day, and we got that from our tofu and edamame in our lunch and our chickpeas in dinner. For nuts and seeds, we need 1 serving daily, and we actually split this into 2 half servings. One of those was the peanut butter powder in our overnight oats, and the other was the almonds in our Romesco sauce for dinner. Up next, we need 1 serving of berries per day, and we got that from the blueberries in our overnight oats. And then we also need 2 other fruits, which we got from the raspberries, which were also in our overnight oats, and the apple that we had as a snack, which you can also eat with lunch. And lastly, to round out layer 1, we need 2 servings of other veggies, which we got from the carrots and cucumbers in our lunch. All right, up next, we've got layer 2, food as supplements. And this means that we are incorporating certain foods into our diet strategically to check off certain nutrition boxes. For example, a Brazil nut per day for selenium or some seaweed for iodine. All right, up first, we have iron and zinc absorption enhancers. So we want to pair foods that are high in iron with foods that are high in vitamin C, because vitamin C helps us to improve the absorption of iron. And we also want to include some onions and garlic into our meal plan because those help to enhance the absorption of zinc. So we have tons of vitamin C in this meal plan, especially in our breakfast, from the berries that help us to improve the absorption of iron. And we also have some minced garlic in our dinner to improve the absorption of zinc. Up next, we want some gut-friendly fermented food in our diets, and we got that from the kimchi in our lunch. The next really important box checks off a whole food source of omega-3s. And the best sources are flax, chia, and walnuts, and we got some chia seeds in our overnight oats. To ensure that we hit our selenium intake for the day, we included 1 Brazil nut in our meal plan, which was added to our overnight oats. And to hit our daily iodine target, we included 1 small piece of kombu along with our lunch. So the last box in layer 2 is commonly fortified plant-based foods. So think fortified plant milks for calcium or nutritional yeast for B vitamins. So in our meal plan, we use nutritional yeast in both our lunch and dinner, which help to ensure that we hit all of our B vitamin needs, especially vitamin B12. And even though you can technically meet your vitamin B12 needs using nutritional yeast, I do recommend using an actual B12 supplement every day. That's actually one of the few supplements in layer 3, which are supplements. And there are some other nice to have supplements like vitamin K2 or omega-3s for EPA and DHA, vitamin D3 supplement depending on the time of year and your sun exposure. So in general, those are kind of the 4 main supplements that I include in my diet and generally think is a good recommendation for people to follow. That is layer 3, but we are not including or talking about any supplements for this particular meal prep. That's something that you can decide to do on your own. So if you enjoyed learning about the 3 layers of nutritional defense, then you're going to absolutely love our video called The Complete Vegan Nutrition Guide, which you can watch right here. It will teach you everything that you need to know to live to 100+ on a plant-based diet. I want you to thrive. That is what we're here for. That's our mission. Please be sure to watch this video. I think it's going to bring you a ton of value. So thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.